Chosen one, stop scrolling right now and lock your eyes on this message. That restlessness pulling at you, the one that made you pause, that was not your finger, that was God. The enemy is working overtime against you today for one reason and one reason only. He knows these are the final instructions, and he knows that once you hear them, everything changes. It all ends here. The confusion, the second guessing, the spiritual static that has been drowning out the voice of God. But listen carefully, because this is the part that matters most. It is not ending because your season shifted. It is ending because you have done something this week that moved heaven. Think back to that moment in the last 72 hours when you almost kept scrolling, when you almost let another day pass without stopping to receive what God had for you. You did not know it then, but that pause, that moment of surrender, was the act that unlocked what I am about to deliver to you right now. You did not ruin your timeline, you completed it. God redirected your entire path today to bring you to this exact screen. So fix your attention, because I am about to read you your final instructions. You did not find this message by accident. The algorithm did not surface this to you. God did. This is a divine appointment, written into your story before the foundations of the earth were laid. You are not stumbling upon something. You are arriving at something. Stay until the very last second of this message, because in the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the exact decree that cancels every assignment the enemy has placed on your silence. I am going to walk you through the moment you unknowingly activated God's final move on your behalf. And at the end, I am going to give you the declaration that seals this chapter shut and opens the next one by morning. Do not click away. Your future self is on the other side of this message, and if you leave now, you will spend another week wondering why God feels distant when he has been trying to reach you all along. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. It has not just been quiet. It has been weighted, like something enormous is pressing down on the atmosphere around you, and you cannot name what it is. Maybe you were lying in bed last night, staring at the ceiling, running through every decision you have made in the last few months, asking God if you are still on the right path. Or maybe you were sitting somewhere alone this week, feeling like everyone around you is moving forward while you are standing completely still, suspended between a season that is ending and a promise that has not arrived yet. Or maybe you woke up at 3 in the morning with a heaviness in your chest and a thought you could not shake, that maybe God has moved on, that maybe you missed your moment. You feel like you are waiting in a holding room with no announcement, no update, and no explanation. And in that silence, the enemy has started whispering a very specific lie. Listen to the thoughts that have been loudest this week. He is telling you that these are God's final instructions because you have finally run out of chances. He is replaying that moment when you reacted instead of responded. That moment when you said something you cannot take back. That moment when you chose the wrong thing when you knew better. The accuser is building a case against you in your own mind, telling you that this silence from heaven is not a pause, it is a verdict, that you have disqualified yourself from the promise. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Romans 11:29 says, "For the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable." Listen to that word, irrevocable. That means it cannot be cancelled by your worst week. It cannot be delayed by your worst decision. It cannot be transferred to someone else because of your silence. The calling God placed on your life before you were born does not operate on a system that your failure can override. What God has spoken over you does not expire. These are not God's final instructions because you are running out of time. These are God's final instructions because your season of preparation is finished. The heaviness you feel is not the weight of abandonment. It is the weight of arrival. It is what it feels like when every prayer you have prayed, every tear you have wept, every moment you stayed faithful when you had every reason not to, when all of it reaches its conclusion at the same time. You think those moments of weakness disqualified you. You think your silence was retreat. But let me reframe your reality right now. Those were not failures. Those were the final requirements. Every moment you endured without an explanation, every time you chose to stay instead of run, every morning you showed up when you felt nothing, heaven was receiving it as an offering. And today, the offering has been accepted. These are not God's final words of warning to a chosen one who is too late. These are God's final words of release to a chosen one who is finally ready. If everything you just heard made your spirit burn, that was not this video. That was God confirming something He has been trying to tell you for months. But confirmation without action is the most dangerous place a chosen one can be. Because the enemy does not attack those who stay asleep. He attacks those who are one step away from waking up, and that is exactly where you are right now. The inner sanctum was built for this moment, so you wake up every morning to a fresh word from God, spoken directly to your spirit. The link is in the first pinned comment. You will know if it is for you the moment you see it. And now that you know the truth of where you are standing, that unwavering place of divine intention, let me pull back the veil and show you what this seemingly barren and enigmatic season has actually been doing inside of you. For too long, humanity has been conditioned to interpret the stillness of God as a sign of His absence, to mistake the quiet hum of divine preparation for the deafening silence of neglect. Most people, when faced with a prolonged period of silence, immediately leap to the conclusion of stagnation, believing their progress has ceased, their momentum stalled. They gaze upon the vast expanse of waiting, where answers seem elusive and the path ahead remains obscured, and in their fear, they call it abandonment, concluding that the divine hand has withdrawn and left them adrift in a sea of uncertainty. When doors designed to swing open remain resolutely shut, they construct an elaborate theology of rejection around them, convincing themselves that they are somehow unworthy or fundamentally flawed, destined to be excluded from the blessings they perceive others effortlessly receiving. But I tell you, with an urgency born of heaven's own heart, there is something profoundly sacred, intricately powerful, and utterly transformative happening in the hidden place within you, a place your natural eyes, conditioned by the loud demands of the visible world, have simply not been able to perceive. It is time for that limited perception to shift. It is time for the spiritual cataracts to fall away, revealing the masterful work of the divine potter, whose hands have been meticulously shaping and refining you in secret, preparing you for a glory yet unseen. You have been in formation, not punishment, formation. Understand this foundational truth. You have not been experiencing punishment, a consequence for some perceived failing, but rather, you have been in intensive, purposeful formation. The distinction is crucial, for one implies judgment, while the other declares a divine blueprint. Imagine, if you will, the profound journey of a diamond. This unparalleled gem does not acquire its brilliant facets and enduring strength through gentle buffing in the open, breezy air. It is not molded into its exquisite form under comfortable, idyllic conditions where no challenge exists. No, a diamond's very essence, its magnificent structure and radiant luminescence, is forged and perfected under pressure so immense, so extreme, deep within the Earth's fiery core, that countless other materials would simply disintegrate, utterly destroyed by such intensity. The sheer fact that you are still standing here today, still watching, still absorbing truth, still seeking the face of God, still pressing forward despite the weight of unseen burdens, is irrefutable evidence that you are not like most things. You are not a fragile, common substance easily broken. You are, in the deepest sense, a chosen one, handpicked by the divine, whose very spirit carries an unbreakable resilience. You have not just survived, but triumphantly endured the very pressure that was meticulously designed, not to break you, but to produce within you something inherently rare, something exquisitely precious. You are a manifestation of character, depth, and brilliance that the world, in its superficial glance, does not encounter very often. Indeed, you are the living embodiment of something heaven itself has been eagerly anticipating, preparing, and now waiting with bated breath to gloriously release into the world. Your very existence is a testament to the fact that you are a vessel prepared for extraordinary purpose. But here is where it goes deeper. Because surviving the pressure is only the beginning. The journey does not end with mere survival. Indeed, enduring the pressure, while significant, is merely the genesis of a far more profound work. What God has been meticulously accomplishing in that hidden, sacred space is not simply to fortify your spirit, to make you stronger in a generic sense. No, His hand has been engaged in a delicate yet powerful recalibration of the very frequency of your spirit, tuning you like a finely crafted instrument to resonate exclusively with His divine broadcast. Imagine your spirit as an antenna, once cluttered with static and interference from countless competing signals. He has been systematically dismantling, silencing, and ultimately removing every dissonant voice that dared to compete with the pure, resonant frequency of His truth. Whether those voices originated from past traumas, societal expectations, the whispers of doubt, or the clamor of human opinion, He has been discerningly severing ties with every relationship, no matter how outwardly appealing, that subtly drained your spiritual discernment, leaving you vulnerable and blurred in your perception of His will. He has been gently yet firmly extracting you from every environment, every familiar comfort zone that imperceptibly dulled your sensitivity to the divine, stifling your intuitive connection to the Spirit. And with surgical precision, He has been illuminating and redirecting you from every alluring distraction that masqueraded as an opportunity, yet was, in truth, nothing more than a carefully camouflaged detour designed to pull you off your destined path. This season of silence, which felt like an agonizing void, was not an emptiness to be filled with noise, but rather it was a precise, necessary spiritual surgery. And just as you would never rush a skilled surgeon performing a life-altering operation, demanding premature answers or tugging at their hands while they are still meticulously working within the delicate tissues of your body, so too must you yield to the divine surgeon. His hands, though unseen, have been diligently working within the deep wounds and hidden blockages of your spirit, preparing you for a life of unparalleled clarity and purpose. Trust the process. The incision is for healing, not harm. This is what David understood when he wrote from the cave, not from the palace, not from a moment of triumph. This profound understanding of divine intention, of purpose amidst perceived desolation, is precisely what King David, the Shepherd King, grasped with an unwavering spiritual fortitude when he penned his inspired words. He did not compose these psalms of unwavering faith from the opulent, sunlit halls of the palace, nor from a comfortable moment of glorious triumph and widespread acclamation. No, David composed Psalm 57 from the cold, echoing depths of a literal cave, a sanctuary carved out of rock, a place of stark isolation and imminent danger. Outside, the relentless, vengeful soldiers of King Saul were posted, their menacing presence a constant, tangible threat, and the oppressive darkness, both physical and metaphorical, pressed in upon him from every conceivable direction. In that crucible of fear and uncertainty, with death breathing down his neck, what did he choose to declare? He did not lament his circumstances or plead for immediate rescue. Instead, his spirit soared above the temporal, proclaiming with resolute certainty, Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. He did not wait for the harrowing ordeal of the cave to conclude, for the threat to dissipate, to offer such a magnificent declaration of praise. He uttered it directly in the middle of it, a defiant anthem sung in the face of despair. For David had gleaned a timeless truth, a lesson so vital that most individuals spend their entire lives in a subconscious effort to bypass or avoid it. That the cave, whatever season of hiddenness, trial, or apparent setback you find yourself in, is not a consequence of your divine calling, a punitive detour for past mistakes. On the contrary, the cave is an indispensable, divinely appointed classroom for your calling, a hallowed training ground where the deepest lessons of faith, dependence, and spiritual authority are not just taught, but irrevocably forged. It is where you learn to truly see God, not just His hand, but His face, even in the deepest shadows. And what's coming next will likely surprise you. It always does. Prepare yourself for what is coming next. The unveiling of deeper insights will likely surprise you. It invariably does, for the ways of heaven often confound the logic of man. The true revelation begins when you wholeheartedly embrace the understanding that the prolonged period of silence, far from being an arbitrary void, was meticulously purposeful. With that acceptance comes the crucial, often challenging imperative to genuinely confront and acknowledge what has demonstrably grown within you because of it. And this, precisely at this juncture, is where many chosen ones on the brink of profound transformation falter and stop. They recoil from the introspection because what has germinated and taken root in the solitude of the silence is not always comfortable or convenient to scrutinize. It might reveal hidden fears, exposed vulnerabilities, or uncomfortable truths about your reliance on external validation. But it is necessary, absolutely necessary. Yet I assure you, looking at this inner landscape is not merely beneficial. It is absolutely necessary, indispensable for the full realization of your divine destiny. In the quiet, in the waiting, in the holding room where no one was watching and no one was applauding, something was being tested inside of you. In that sacred holding room of your spirit where no earthly eye was watching, where no human voice was applauding your efforts or acknowledging your struggle, something exquisitely profound was being tested inside of you. Not your talent, not your gifting, not even your faith in its most visible form. It was not the superficial sparkle of your talent, which can often be a dazzling distraction. It was not the visible demonstration of your gifting, which is often tied to performance and recognition. It was not even your faith in its most overt, performative form, the kind that might impress others. What was being tested was your willingness to trust without evidence, to believe without confirmation, to keep walking in a direction you could not see. No, what was being rigorously tested, refined, and solidified was your raw, unadulterated willingness to trust God without a shred of visible evidence, to believe in His unseen hand and His unspoken promises without any immediate, tangible confirmation. It was your unwavering commitment to keep walking forward, step by arduous step, in a direction you could not yet physically see, guided only by the inner compass of conviction. And every single day that you did it, even imperfectly, even through tears, even when you whispered instead of declared, you were passing a test that most people fail. Not because they are not capable, because they never understood what the test was actually measuring. And every single day, every single hour, that you managed to do exactly that, even imperfectly, stumbling through the uncertainty, even through unshed or openly flowing tears, Even when your declarations were not booming proclamations, but hushed, weary whispers to your own soul, you were, in fact, passing a deeply significant test that the vast majority of people consistently fail. They fail not because they inherently lack capability or spiritual strength, but because they never truly comprehended, never truly understood the profound spiritual metric that the test was actually measuring. Heaven is not measuring your performance. Heaven is measuring your posture. Let this truth settle deep within your bones. Heaven is not engaged in evaluating your performance, that outward display of effort, achievement, or spiritual prowess, which so often preoccupies the human mind. Heaven, in its infinite wisdom and penetrating insight, is meticulously measuring your posture, the internal alignment of your heart, the position of your spirit in relation to the divine. It assesses not what you do, but who you are becoming in the secret place. And your posture this week, in the midst of the weight, in the midst of the silence, in the midst of every voice telling you it was over, your posture was surrender. And your posture, specifically in this past season, this past challenging week, in the crushing midst of the unseen weight, in the deafening heart of the silence, in the relentless onslaught of every undermining voice that tried to convince you it was unequivocally over, that your journey had reached a definitive, ignominious end. Your posture, remarkably, was one of profound surrender. And surrender to a God who sees everything is the most powerful act a human being can offer. This surrender, far from being an act of defeat or passive resignation, is in fact an active, powerful, and deeply intentional yielding of your will to the one who holds all things, to a God who perceives every hidden thought, every unspoken prayer, every silent tear, every flicker of hope, and every shadow of doubt. This act of surrender is not merely noble. It is the single most powerful, transformative, and faith-affirming act a human being, in their finite capacity, can possibly offer. It is a declaration of trust, a release of control, and an open invitation for His sovereign will to manifest unhindered in your life. This brings us to the real turning point, because once you understand what your posture has been saying to heaven, you need to understand what heaven has been saying back. And now, beloved soul, we arrive at the veritable turning point, the pivotal moment where everything begins to coalesce and make profound sense. For once you have fully grasped the silent yet eloquent testimony your posture of surrender has been declaring to heaven, it becomes imperative that you also comprehend the equally profound and echoing message that heaven has been transmitting back to you. Every time you felt that pull in your chest this week, that unexplained urgency, that inexplicable longing, that sensation that something enormous is on the edge of breaking, that was not anxiety. That was not fear. That persistent, undeniable pull you felt in your chest this week, that unexplained urgency that stirred your soul, that inexplicable longing for something just beyond your grasp, that deep-seated sensation that something truly enormous, something seismic, is poised right on the very edge of breaking forth into your reality. Let me assure you, that was not the gnawing tendril of anxiety, nor the paralyzing grip of fear. That was your spirit receiving a transmission that your mind has not yet decoded. Your spirit, that divine spark within you, acting as a finely tuned receiver, was picking up a powerful transmission, a divine download, that your conscious mind has not yet had the capacity or the context to fully decode and articulate. Your spirit already knows what your mind is still trying to comprehend. And what your spirit has been receiving is this: the infrastructure of your breakthrough has already been laid. The connections are already being made. The provision is already in motion. Your spirit, in its profound and ancient connection to the Creator, already possesses the knowing that your intellect is still laboriously trying to comprehend and piece together. And the indelible truth, the profound revelation your spirit has been ceaselessly receiving, is this: the intricate infrastructure of your long-awaited breakthrough has already been meticulously laid. Every foundational support, every unseen pillar, every hidden pathway has been constructed with divine precision. The necessary connections, the seemingly coincidental encounters, the orchestrated divine appointments are already being flawlessly made in the unseen realms. The provision in every conceivable form, whether it be resources, favor, wisdom, or opportunities, is already fully in motion, actively traveling towards your designated intersection with destiny. You are not waiting for God to begin. You are arriving at a conclusion He set in motion long before you understood the assignment. You are not waiting for God to begin the work, as if He were contemplating it for the first time. On the contrary, you are arriving with divine punctuality at a magnificent conclusion, the culmination of a master plan He meticulously set in motion long before you ever even recognized the assignment, long before you ever even whispered the first prayer for it. Think of Elijah in the moment after his greatest victory. He had just called down fire from heaven on Mount Carmel. He had just ended a 3-year drought. He had just run faster than horses. And then he sat under a broom tree and told God he was done. He said, "It is enough. I am no better than my fathers. Take my life." Consider the poignant narrative of Elijah, a man of staggering faith and miraculous power, captured in the vulnerable moment immediately following his greatest, most public victory. He had just, through unwavering prayer, called down divine fire from the heavens to consume his sacrifice on Mount Carmel, decisively vanquishing the prophets of Baal. He had single-handedly ended a 3-year devastating drought that plagued the land, bringing life back to a parched earth. Empowered by the Spirit, he had outrun the chariots of King Ahab, moving with superhuman speed. Yet, in the wake of such monumental feats, this same prophet, overwhelmed by the enormity of his calling and the ensuing persecution, found himself utterly depleted. He retreated into the wilderness, collapsing under the meager shade of a broom tree, and in that profound depth of despair, he surrendered not in faith, but in exhaustion. He openly confessed to God, "It is enough. Now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my fathers." He was at the precipice of giving up, believing his purpose had run its course. Now look at what God did not do. God did not rebuke him. God did not give him a sermon. God did not remind him of his failures or his fears. Now observe with reverent awe what God, in his boundless compassion and profound wisdom, chose not to do. He did not issue a harsh rebuke, chastising Elijah for his moment of weakness or his desire to quit. He did not launch into a theological sermon about resilience or spiritual fortitude. He did not remind Elijah of his past failures, real or perceived, nor did he dwell on the fears that gripped his heart. God sent an angel and said, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you, not too great to complete without nourishment." Instead, in a tender, deeply practical act of divine care, God dispatched an angel who simply said, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you." Notice the phrasing, "too great for you," not too great for you to complete, for God's plans are always accomplishable, but too great to complete without adequate, divinely provided nourishment. And God understood something that Elijah could not see in that moment, that the exhaustion was not the end of the story, it was the threshold of the next chapter. God, with an understanding that transcended Elijah's immediate perception, recognized a crucial truth. that this profound spiritual and physical exhaustion was not the ignominious end of Elijah's story. It was, rather, a necessary temporary pause, a sacred threshold marking the beginning of the next, even more significant chapter of his unfolding destiny, a chapter for which he needed renewed strength and spiritual sustenance. Stay with me, because what I am about to share next is the part that breaks the cycle. Stay intimately present with me now, for what I am about to unveil next is the key, the very mechanism that has the power to shatter and break the insidious cycles that have held you captive. The reason so many chosen ones never fully step into what God has prepared is not because they are too broken. It is because they have been feeding the wrong thing in the season that was meant to prepare them. The profound, often heartbreaking reason why so many chosen ones, those uniquely selected and anointed by God, never fully step into the glorious abundance and purpose that God has meticulously prepared and reserved for them, is not because they are inherently too broken, too flawed, or too scarred by life's trials. No, their struggle stems from a more subtle, yet devastating error. They have been inadvertently feeding the wrong aspect of their being during the very season that was precisely intended to prepare them for their elevation. They have been feeding their doubt with evidence and starving their faith of the nourishment it needed to carry them across. They have diligently, if unconsciously, been feeding their doubt, meticulously providing it with evidence, gleaned from every setback, every closed door, every unanswered prayer, every visible limitation. Simultaneously, they have been starving their precious faith, depriving it of the vital nourishment, the divine sustenance it desperately required to grow strong enough to carry them across the chasm of uncertainty into their promised land. Every time they rehearsed what went wrong, they fed the doubt. Every time they replayed the rejection, they fed the wound. Every time they agreed with the voice that said too late and too much and too far gone, they starved the very seed that was trying to take root and rise. Think of it. Every single time they mentally rehearsed what went wrong, replaying the failures and shortcomings, they were metaphorically watering and fertilizing the weed of doubt in the garden of their soul. Every instance they replayed the sting of rejection, the memory of being overlooked or dismissed, they were pouring salt into an open wound, making it fester rather than heal. And tragically, every time they silently or even vocally agreed with the insidious voice that whispered too late for your season, too much for you to overcome, or too far gone for redemption, they were effectively starving the very seed of divine promise that God Himself had planted within them, the potent seed that was valiantly trying to take root, break through the hardened soil, and gloriously rise to fruition. But you are still here, which means the seed is still alive. But the undeniable miraculous truth, a testament to God's enduring grace and your inherent divine design, is that you are still here. You are still listening, still seeking, still breathing. And that immutable fact means, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that the divine seed within you, the seed of your purpose, your promise, your potential, is still vibrantly alive. And a living seed, even in dry ground, will find its way to light. And a living seed, infused with the breath of God, even when cast upon what appears to be the driest, most barren ground, possesses an innate, powerful drive to instinctively find its way through the darkness, pushing towards the light, relentlessly seeking its destined flourishing. Now what I am about to say next carries the most weight of everything I have spoken so far, so I need you to stay fully present. Because we are entering the part of this message where the revelation stops being comfortable and starts being confrontational. And if something in you wants to resist what is coming, let that resistance speak. Because the parts of us that push back the hardest are almost always protecting the very thing that needs to be surrendered the most. Now I implore you to anchor your spirit and remain fully present, for what I am about to articulate carries the most significant weight, the deepest gravitational pull of everything I have imparted thus far. We are now venturing into a segment of this message where the profound revelation ceases to be merely comforting and begins its necessary, potent work of confrontation. Should you feel a stir of resistance within you, an internal friction, or a desire to push back against what is unfolding, I urge you, allow that resistance to speak. Listen to its protest, for often, the parts of ourselves that exert the most strenuous resistance are invariably attempting to protect the very thing, the very attachment, that most desperately requires surrender to the divine process. The greatest threat to your next season is not the enemy's attack. He has already been defeated. The cross settled that. The greatest, most formidable threat to your imminent next season of breakthrough and flourishing is emphatically not the enemy's attack. His power has already been decisively broken, his schemes rendered impotent. The victory secured on the cross definitively settled that cosmic battle. The greatest threat to your next season is the version of yourself that became comfortable in the waiting, because comfort in the cave can become a kind of identity. No, the most insidious threat to your imminent expansion is the subtle yet pervasive version of yourself that became strangely comfortable, even entrenched, in the long season of waiting. For, when prolonged, comfort found in the cave, that place of hiddenness, struggle, or perceived limitation, can, over time, dangerously morph into a defining aspect of your identity. And when your identity gets attached to the struggle, something deeply subtle happens. Your spirit begins to equate the waiting with safety, not consciously, not with intention, but quietly, subversively. The waiting becomes the only place where you know who you are. And when your deepest sense of self, your very identity, becomes intricately intertwined and attached to the narrative of struggle, a deeply subtle, almost imperceptible shift occurs within your spirit. Unconsciously, without deliberate intention, your spirit begins to equate the known territory of waiting with a false sense of safety. The struggle, the obscurity, the endurance becomes the only landscape where you feel you truly know who you are. Because in the waiting, you are the chosen one who is suffering beautifully, the one who prays faithfully in obscurity, the one who endures with grace. And there is honor in that. There is genuine, holy honor in that. Because in the crucible of the waiting, you have honed an identity. You are the chosen one who suffers beautifully, the one who prays faithfully in profound obscurity, the one who endures every trial with grace and quiet strength. And yes, let me be clear, there is genuine, holy honor, a sacred dignity in that season of patient endurance. But there is also a hidden danger, because if you enter the open season, the season of visibility, of fruitfulness, of the promise fulfilled, you will have to release the identity that the waiting gave you. And releasing it means trusting that you are still someone worth something when you are no longer someone who is enduring. But inextricably linked to that honor is a hidden, perilous danger. For if you are to truly step into the open season, the season of exhilarating visibility, of undeniable fruitfulness, of the promise finally magnificently fulfilled, you will be required to consciously, intentionally release the very identity that the waiting season so generously offered you. And this act of releasing, this letting go of the familiar, even if arduous, self-concept, demands an even deeper act of trust, the radical belief that you are still utterly valuable, intrinsically worthy, and profoundly significant when you are no longer defined solely by the narrative of enduring, but by the glory of manifesting. Joseph did not just walk out of prison, he walked out of his prison identity. Joseph did not merely walk out of the physical confines of the prison walls. More profoundly, He walked out of his prison identity, shaking off the mental and spiritual shackles that could have defined him forever. He could have carried it into the palace. He could have spent every banquet thinking about the pit. He could have managed Pharaoh's kingdom from a posture of survival. He could have allowed the deep scars of betrayal and injustice to mar his perspective, carrying the residue of the pit, the bitter memory of false accusations, and the trauma of imprisonment into the very heart of the palace. He could have spent every opulent banquet reliving the hunger of the pit or the cold despair of the dungeon, managing the vast kingdom of Pharaoh from a perpetual posture of guarded survival, constantly anticipating betrayal or loss. But Genesis tells us that when he was 30 years old and stood before Pharaoh, there was no residue, no trembling, no man who had been broken trying to convince himself he was whole. But the sacred narrative of Genesis reveals a man utterly transformed. When he was 30 years old and stood before Pharaoh, poised to step into unprecedented authority, there was no discernible residue of his past suffering clinging to him, no lingering trembling of fear or resentment in his spirit. He was not a broken man desperately attempting to convince himself or others that he was whole. He stood in his divine authority as if the pit and the prison had never been the final word. Because they were never the final word, they were the final preparation. He stood in the unshakable confidence of his divine authority, embodying his true self, as if the pit of betrayal and the prison of injustice had never, for a single moment, held the power to define his ultimate destiny, because, in truth, they were never meant to be the final word. They were, in the tapestry of God's design, merely the final, crucial preparation for the unparalleled elevation that awaited him. And here is the part you probably did not expect to hear today. The thing that has been blocking you is not the enemy's assignment. It is your agreement with the version of yourself that the enemy has been showing you. Not the real you, the projected you, the you made entirely of your worst moments and your most vulnerable fears. That is not a portrait drawn by God. That is a counterfeit image the accuser painted while you were in the dark, and over time you mistook it for a mirror. And here is the profound, perhaps unexpected truth that I believe heaven wants you to hear and embrace today. The singular, most persistent thing that has been blocking your progress, hindering your full emergence, is not the enemy's tireless assignment against you. His attempts are secondary. The real obstruction is your deeply ingrained, often unconscious agreement with the distorted version of yourself that the enemy has been incessantly showing you. This is not the authentic you, the divinely intended you. This is the projected you, a fabricated illusion, a phantom self conjured entirely from the raw material of your worst moments, your most painful mistakes, and your most vulnerable, whispered fears. This grotesque caricature is emphatically not a portrait drawn by the loving, all-knowing hand of God. That is a counterfeit image, a masterful deception that the accuser meticulously painted upon the canvas of your mind while you were in the dark, in your seasons of vulnerability, and tragically, over time, you began to mistake that grotesque fabrication for a true reflection, for an accurate mirror of your soul. You have been living inside a case of mistaken identity, and everything, every delay, every closed door, every moment of confusion has been sustained by the belief, buried deep beneath your theology, that the counterfeit is the real one. You have been dwelling within a profound, identity-altering case of mistaken identity, believing the false narrative more deeply than the divine truth. And every challenging circumstance you've faced, every frustrating delay, every resolutely closed door, every bewildering moment of confusion and uncertainty has been, in essence, sustained and given power by an unspoken belief, a deeply embedded conviction often buried beneath layers of acquired theology, that the counterfeit image of yourself is, in fact, the real one. that the broken, struggling version is the true, authentic version, that the palace with its promise and prominence is reserved for someone else, and that the familiar, shadowed cave is where you truly belong, your predestined dwelling place. But I am telling you now, by the authority of a God who names things what they actually are, that image is not you. But I declare to you now, with the absolute, unshakable authority of a God who not only creates, but sovereignly names things precisely for what they actually are, and who calls forth light from darkness, that fabricated, fear-infused image, that distorted reflection you've been gazing at, is unequivocally not you. The real you is who God saw before you were formed. The real you is the one He equipped before the assignment was released. The real you is the one the enemy has been working overtime to keep hidden, because if you ever see yourself the way heaven sees you, not a single delay can hold you, not a single voice can silence you, and not a single season of waiting can convince you that you are anything less than exactly what God declared over your life before you drew your first breath. The real you is the magnificent being God lovingly envisioned, meticulously designed, and intimately knew before the very atoms of your being were intricately formed in your mother's womb. The real you is the one He supernaturally equipped with every necessary grace, every spiritual gift, every intrinsic talent, and every ounce of divine courage before the specific assignment for your life was ever released into the timeline of humanity. The real you is precisely the powerful, luminous being that the enemy has been working overtime, with relentless cunning and desperate fervor, to keep hidden, to obscure from your conscious awareness. Because this is the terrifying truth for the forces of darkness. If you ever truly see yourself, not through the tarnished lens of your past, nor through the whispering doubts of the accuser, but through the pure, unblemished eyes of heaven, through the same eyes with which God Himself sees you, then not a single earthly delay can possibly hold you back. Not a single voice of criticism or self-doubt can silence the divine roar within you, and not a single prolonged season of waiting can ever, mocked here again, convince you that you are anything less than exactly, magnificently, precisely what God declared over your life before you even drew your very first breath. And that brings us to this, the final movement, the one that was always waiting at the end of this message. And so, with every preceding truth now laid bare, we arrive at this culminating point, the final decisive movement of this profound message, the moment that was always intrinsically waiting to be unveiled at its very conclusion. You do not need another week of preparation. You do not need another revelation to feel ready. You do not need the circumstances to shift before you take your position. You have crossed the threshold. You do not require another additional week of arduous preparation. The divine shaping is complete. You do not need yet another revelatory insight or a sudden epiphany to finally feel ready. Readiness is not a feeling, but a state of being. You certainly do not need the external circumstances, the ever-shifting sands of your outer world, to miraculously align or perfectly shift before you courageously take your rightful, appointed position. You need to step into the identity that has been waiting for you to inhabit it, not perform it, not work toward it, inhabit it. No, what you need, with absolute certainty and unwavering conviction, is to simply step, fully and courageously, into the magnificent, authentic identity that has been patiently waiting for you to completely inhabit it. This is not about performing a role, or striving to work your way toward it, or trying to earn it. This is about inhabiting it, settling into it, breathing it, living from it as your inherent truth. From this moment forward, the way you see yourself is the assignment, because you cannot carry what you do not believe you are worthy to hold. For from this precise moment forward, Your most crucial, most potent, and most transformative assignment is this: the way you perceive and internalize your own self. Because a profound spiritual law dictates that you cannot authentically carry, effectively steward, or truly experience the fullness of what God has prepared for you if, in the depths of your being, you do not genuinely believe you are worthy to hold it. So before this moment passes, before the weight of the ordinary tries to pull you back into the fog of yesterday's questions, place your hand on your chest and declare this with full authority over your own life. So, before the powerful resonance of this moment begins to dissipate, before the mundane weight of the ordinary routine tries to cunningly pull you back into the familiar fog of yesterday's lingering questions and old narratives, I ask you, with deliberate intention, to place your hand firmly on your chest, connecting with the beating heart of your spirit, and declare this sacred truth with full, unshakable authority over your own life, giving voice to the transformation that has already begun within you. I release every agreement I made with the counterfeit image. I release every label placed on me by voices that could not see what heaven sees. I release the identity of the cave. I am no longer defined by what I endured. I am defined by what God declared. I step into the fullness of who I was created to be before the foundations of the earth were laid. The delay is finished. The preparation is complete. The promise is not coming. It is already here. I receive it now. I walk in it now. I am seen. I am called. I am ready. And everything that was held back is being released into my life beginning today. This is your moment. Not next week. Not when it feels easier. Now. And if this word landed in your spirit the way I believe it did, do not let it evaporate into the noise of the next hour. The inner sanctum was built so that a word like this one meets you fresh every single morning, spoken directly into your spirit before the world has a chance to tell you who you are. You will find the link in the first pinned comment. You will know the moment you see it, whether it is for you, and I believe you already know.